Jarrett, and I was born to be happy.
Okay, so I'm what you call a transplant to Berkeley County. I grew up in Putnam County, West Virginia, at Winfield High School. I know that some of our sports, some of our teams, they play down in Putnam County, like St. Albans, Hurricane. That's where I come from. So I graduated from Winfield High School in 1995, and I knew I wanted to go to Shepherd. I wanted to get as far away from hometown as I could, but still be in West Virginia. And so I discovered Shepherd College. It was not university at the time. And when I saw the campus, I just fell in love. I fell in love with the area. Putnam County and Berkeley County are both fast-growing counties and have good reputations. And I just felt at home here. I got my elementary ed degree at Shepherd College. Student taught for Mrs. Holland in 1999. Because I endorsed in mathematics. When I was going through school, there were not a lot of teacher jobs, and they said you need to make yourself different. You have to stand out if you want to get a job. So I was like, okay, well, I know I want to be an elementary school teacher, but I love math, so I will endorse in mathematics so that I could maybe teach math in middle schools. I had no intention of ever being a high school teacher. That sort of just happened. So I did student teaching at Musselman Middle. I did one at Potomac Intermediate. And as I was finishing there in December of '99, they offered me a long-term sub position. They said, it's not math, and you will have every student in the school. What do you think? And I'm like, well, what is the class? In addition to getting my elementary ed degree and my math endorsement, I also took in a French minor. I spoke French, and so they said, well, we want you to be our foreign language teacher. So I got to be a part of what was called Unified Arts, and I taught French, Spanish, Latin, Japanese, and sign language to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and we rotated every 4.5 to 5.5 weeks. So I got to have every kid in the building 2.5 years in a row. So that started January of 2000, and I retired. I officially retired from teaching in May of '02 because I wanted to start a family. My husband and I were expecting in May, and so May 28th was my due date, and so I retired officially, like the paperwork and everything, early May, and then my daughter came 2 weeks early. So I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. 2010 to 2013, I did part-time work at Bunker Hill Elementary. So I was involved in the PTA, but then I was missing the classroom and was presented with the opportunity to do part-time work. So that meant I kind of had a 9 to 3 schedule with no lesson plans, not official lesson plans anyway. I got to go work with the math classrooms. I did reading, and I read in the hallway with first graders. I worked on data with Title I. I taught writing in 2nd grade, and I taught math in 3rd grade. I would just go into the classrooms and work in small doses. And then I did something called push in, pull out, where you pull out small groups and work with them, or you push in and work like at a table in the back. So I got to teach multiplication facts, the ice cream scoops. Do you remember those in elementary school? And creative writing. It was great. But then my kids were getting older. I had two children, and one was in middle school and one was in intermediate school, and they needed me. Well, they always need you, but they needed me less, like during the school day or after school. So I talked to my husband, had the social support of the family, and I was like, I'm ready to go back full time. So I started back full time in 2013 at South Middle School, and I was there for 2 years teaching science, 6th grade math, and 7th grade math. And I had some honors mixed in with that. 2 years, I was very happy. I loved the middle school. I was using my math endorsement. I was finally teaching math. And then they were redistricting. They built onto North Middle, and they were changing the boundaries. So like 150 of South Middle School, they were gonna have to go to their rivals north. Like imagine some of us having to go to Martinsburg High. Like that was the rival of North and South. And because I had retired and I didn't have 20 years teaching experience, I was the low man on the totem pole. And so they were shrinking. It was called RIF, where they do reduction in force. And so they said, Mrs. Jarrett, we love you. We would love to keep you here as a science teacher, but we're okay with math. And I love math. I love math. I went to school for math. And I said, no, thank you. It was the hardest thing I had to do. That was when I had to say goodbye to DeMonte McMeans and Teddy Marshall and Brooke Metzger. And I went to North. I was like, well, if I'm going to go somewhere else, maybe I'll go where our kids are going. And there was a job position at North Middle School. I applied and was hired. So after 2 years teaching at Musselman Middle, 10 years off to be a stay-at-home mom, 2 years at South Middle, I changed again and spent a year and a half at North Middle. North Middle School, I was a 7th grade math teacher, right? That's all I had. Yes, I was on the 7th grade team. So I had a mix of honors and regular. That's where I met Kim Bell and Jaden Cross. And I was gonna be there forever. My goal at that school was to get to go upstairs to the 8th grade and do the Algebra 1, because when you're in 8th grade, you have the opportunity to take Algebra 1 for high school credit. And I was like, ooh, I wanna teach that. I love algebra. But even at that point, I never gave any thoughts to going into high school. I kind of thought middle school was where it was at, and I loved being in the middle school. Like there are teachers that are like, you have to be a different kind of person to teach in the middle school. They have that reputation because it's just hard growing up, and I loved it. So it was quite a shock. In December of 2016, my daughter, who was a freshman here at Musselman at the time, she was diagnosed with giant cell tumor of the bone. It's a tumor that's supposed to be in the long bones of your body when you're like in your 70s, and she got it in her skull as a 14-year-old. So our lives took a very quick change, and she was going to need to have chemo. She was going to have a lot of appointments, and so I took family leave from North Middle School. And after only teaching like Kimmy and Jaden for 3 months, I left. And I thought I was going to go back. I had full intentions of going back to North Middle School. But because Carissa was on homebound and I was her homebound teacher, I was in frequent communication with this school and Mr. Jason Kamlowski, who used to be an assistant principal here, and he encouraged me to apply for a job. And I said, sir, I'm not a high school teacher, I'm a middle school teacher. I'm not qualified to be a high school teacher. And what he said to me was, Mrs. Jarrett, you may not be certified yet, but you are certainly qualified. So I live 2 minutes from our high school. I live practically 30 minutes from North Middle School with traffic. And with my daughter's health in question, and we're still on that journey, but with her health in question, not knowing if she was going to be homebound or at school and what she would need, I was like, you know what, it might be smarter for me to be closer to home. So I applied and got certified, and I never want to leave high school. I love teaching high school math. I'm so glad that this journey took me here to the Appleman, to algebra and geometry.
So my Instagram is You're Optimist. You are optimist, because that is one of the things that I'm most known for, is being so positive. And so when people ask me why I'm so positive, I think a lot of it has to do with, like, I feel grateful for every day that I have. I had cancer when I was a child. I had a 12-month appointment. Everything was fine. I was a healthy 1-year-old. And then I took a tumble down the stairs, and I was fine. But then some amount of time later, I was being tickled, and it hurt, and I was crying. So they took me back into the doctor, or just took me to the doctor. I don't think they took me in when I fell down, because it wasn't anything bad. And they discovered that I had a Wilms tumor, which in 1978, that's how old I am. In 1978, children did not survive Wilms tumors. It was very rare for you to survive it, but my left kidney was completely encapsulated with tumor. The kidney was tumor, the tumor was kidney. So they cut it out. I have a nice big scar on my stomach. It's an upside down chevron. And I had a 1.5 years of chemotherapy. And when I finally understood, when I got to an age where I understood what cancer was, how deep it was, how remarkable it was to have survived, then I began to appreciate. So I'm optimistic for that. And I think, honestly, I need it. I mean, when you look at the things you do and the things that matter to you, it comes from somewhere. And there wasn't a lot of positivity in my life growing up in my immediate home. So the environment that I was in the most, it just wasn't very positive. And I, for whatever reason, I needed that. I needed positivity. To be told that it was going to be okay, or to have strength that you can get through this. So I think I just became what I needed. So my dad committed suicide when I was 9. And my mom was an alcoholic. And there was a lot of absentee parenting. Like, we had to do our homework. We had to, wear shoes to school. It's kind of an inside joke with my friend. We couldn't have sleepovers on weeknights. But, outside of that normalcy, everything else was up for grabs. I feel like I raised myself. My mom passed out many times, and I had to pick her up, put her in her room, clean up the mess, things like that. So I grew up fast. My sister and I were very independent, even while we were still seeking maturity. And we made it. I was never hungry beyond normalcy. I was not abused. I would not say that I had it bad, but I wouldn't say that I had it easy. I would say that we went through some tough times, but we made it. And that makes me positive-minded. You can do it. You have the strength. You have the perseverance. You have the determination. You can find the resources. My mother and a couple of ex-stepfathers that I have, they didn't provide everything that we needed that I think somebody growing up should receive. But people in my community were there for us. And so I don't know. I really think that I'm a very happy, positive person because I am so grateful for what I have. I just try and live each day spreading that, because I know that the students that I encounter, the kids that I work with, I try and tell them, look, wherever you are right now in your life, if you don't have enough choices. Things are, you're told what to do. You're told what you can have. Until you have a job and a car, you don't have as many freedoms. So if you are in a situation that is unhealthy, what can you do now over these next 4 years to be ready when you do have choices so that you can change your situation? That's what I want them to see. Like I said, my sister and I were very independent. We didn't count on Mom to do these things for us. We made sure we were ready to go to college. We could get to college. We made good grades so that we could get jobs and be productive members of society. We made those choices. There are a lot of different choices we could have made, for sure, and we didn't. And I love my job. I really, hands down, I love teaching, and so I'm pretty happy to wake up every day and go to school. So, look, if this is a public service announcement for people to go to seek therapy and not be embarrassed or hesitant, I want to say that right now, that it is, I'm of the generation where we didn't And doing this documentary has caused a lot of reflection. And there are some things I can't talk about without crying. There are the whole my dad committing suicide. There are so many things tied to that still haunt me. Like, I probably shouldn't go into it because then I'll cry, and right now I'm okay. But I haven't properly dealt with that. And it happened when I was 9 years old, and I'm 47. That's a long time to be carrying around boxes. They used to call it boxes. Just put it in a box, put it in the attic, and you don't do it. It's fine. It's fine. It's not fine. So yes. I tell you what, my mother, being the type of mother that she was, showed me the kind of mother I wanted to be for my children, and that has been a beautiful thing. And like I said, I was not abused. I was not seen. I wasn't really taken care of. I really feel like I raised her. She raised me, and that helped me be a better mother. It helps me be a better teacher because I can relate to the students that go through these things. But yeah, it definitely hurts when. I've lost both of my parents. My mother has since passed away. She passed away right before COVID, before we shut down the schools. She passed away February 29th, 2020. Yeah. And there are things in my life that I want to share with them. Death is a part of life. Like, we lose people in our lives. But I've lost both of my parents. And the rest of our family isn't close because there's a lot of bad blood there. So, like, the history of my family, and just if I want to, share things with my mom, certainly with my dad, I wonder all the time, like, what life would have been like if he had been around, and like as a grandfather, to walk me down the aisle, to hear stories from Vietnam. But the cancer, I don't think that impacts me negatively. I think it just makes me appreciate life, so I think that's a big positive. But definitely the family drama, and the ex-stepbrother and the ex-stepfathers, and the inebriation, and taking care of my mom the way I had to. That's tough. It makes you stronger. We are a product of our environment and nurture, nature, and all of that. And I'm okay with who I am today, so I'm at peace with it. She wanted to know if cancer was hard on the family, and it definitely was. You have a sibling. Do you have a sibling? So let's just say everybody's healthy. Do you ever feel like one gets more attention than the other because they're younger or older or smarter or did better or sports this or like talks to you more, or like why can't you be more this like your brother, sister? Why can't you be more that? So I guess imagine, we're pretty young. I'm getting all the attention because I'm sick. And I'm losing my hair, and I go get chemo, and what about Lori? What about poor Lori? So I'm sure my sister felt some kind of way about that, and we've talked about it. Have you ever had to support someone that's sick? It's hard emotionally to be there for someone that's ill, and physically, like to do things, it's a lot, and so I don't think that cancer led to their divorce. My dad, when he came back from Vietnam, he was already hurting in a bad way and dealing with some things emotionally that I guess he never really dealt with, having committed suicide. But he was sprayed with Agent Orange, and that is a pesticide that clears out all of the brush trees so that you can, I guess, our forces could see the enemy and where they were hiding. And so all of the soldiers that were sprayed with Agent Orange, they themselves had issues, but then they're all sorting out issues. And so my mom's tumor is directly related to the agent crash. It was right on him, and so he felt at fault. He already had certain issues with the mother and what he had to do, and then come back and live with it. He did 2.5 tours. He didn't just do what was required. He was a brave, and he did 2.5 tours, and then stayed in for a while after that. And the words that they usually would stop after the war. He didn't want to talk.
From the time I was a little girl, I have always wanted to be a mother and a teacher. I remember being in first grade and knowing, like I have that cognitive memory, knowing that I wanted to be a teacher or secretary. And then I've always wanted to be a mother, and I think that comes from growing up with people younger than I am as my friends and having to take care of them, and then just always being a tutor and being the mother of the block. I was called the mother of the block. It was natural for me to want to be a mother. Not everybody wants to be, and that's okay. You asked me what lessons I've learned from being a mother, and I consider myself a pretty patient person, but I think motherhood taught me even more patience, and I imagine you want to know what it's taught me that relates to my life as a teacher. And I feel I'm very patient. You can tell when you walk in the room and when you're with me for a little while that I'm very mothering. I'm like a mother hen. Doesn't mean that I won't call you out on what you need to be told or have high expectations. But I think that's part of motherhood too. I mean, any parent will tell you and any teacher will tell you, you need to follow through with your expectations, and if you set a certain tone, you don't want to be inconsistent with it. I find that's true for parenting as well as teaching. So patience, I feel very blessed with my children. I feel like they made parenting easy, but I learned to listen to them. I imagine there are some parents out there that well, do this because I told you so, and just listen to me, listen to what I have to say, do what I say, not what I do, maybe. But I was able to listen to my children, and we would talk. If they did something wrong, I remember one time I pulled the car over and got in the back seat with Carissa, and we talked about why what she was doing was unacceptable, instead of just yelling at her or saying, don't do that, and leaving it. Like, I believe in lessons. I believe in something being learned. And I would ask questions. I was very fortunate to be able to stay home with my children for 11 years. I was teaching at Musselman Middle School in 2000 until 2002, and I delivered my firstborn in May of 2002, and I stayed home. I didn't go back to teaching until 2010, but then didn't go back full-time until 2013. So I was able to talk to them a lot about their day, and I had time to listen because I didn't have to worry about lesson plans or grading, and not everyone is fortunate enough to be able to do that, and I feel very blessed. I had another part-time job, but it wasn't teaching. I listened to them, I asked them questions, I was patient, and I feel like I've learned that from motherhood. Also, from mothering teenagers. I don't want to sound like a teen, but sometimes it's not that deep, and sometimes things are that deep, and there are real issues that our teenagers are going through, and I can't just, that's not important right now, do my geometry. I need to make time and space for them, and I definitely learned that from my children too. We're older and grown, and we know that it's not the end of the world when this happens or that happens, and that you'll grow through it, but your age group and age groups younger, they don't necessarily know that yet, and everything in that moment is what matters. So yeah, patience, asking questions, listening, understanding their point of view. So sometimes you don't understand things until they happen to you, and if you want to have kids, there's a really good chance you're going to like those kids, right? The love that you immediately feel as a parent or that I was blessed enough to immediately feel as a parent is so big. It's so wonderful, and you understand that about your students, that their parents, hopefully feel that for them. Sorry. Love takes on a whole new meaning when you become a parent, and something that my own children say all the time, especially my daughter. She's like, "You are a mother to so many. You love so many. You are so we know that we are the most important children in your lives, and we're okay that you love other children." And that has been very kind of them, because they do share me. They definitely share me with my students, and I'm grateful for that. I'm definitely grateful for that. All right, so how did being a mother or my children shape who I am today as a teacher? They have taught me what it means to pay attention to the little things, to be involved. I have always wanted to be a mother, and it is so joyful and so fulfilling to be a part of their lives and to be in a great relationship with them. That is very important. I'm just a mother. I'm a full-time mother. All right, how have my children shaped who I am today? I would say that everything I've been through them has made me stronger, more patient, more caring, more aware. When they enjoy something, then that helps me stop to enjoy the little things. When they want to play with me, and they want to involve me in an activity that they have, that losing some of those moments for work or for this or for that, or seeing their face, helps me see the importance of quality time with your children, also with your students. Each and every one of these lessons can parlay into teaching and being involved with your students. Children, young people, they don't always show appreciation in the way that maybe you would expect it, or when you would want it, but that doesn't mean they don't feel it. And then randomly they surprise you and just let you know how much you meant to them. So probably a little bit that way too.
I am the teacher that I am today for multiple reasons, multiple factors, and multiple people. But the leading influence in my professional development as a teacher is students. The first one in this series of students is DeMonte McMeans. And DeMonte, the beautiful human that he is, he taught me that I can matter to students like I matter to my children. And that this connection, it has to be earned. Just because I want you to respect me doesn't mean you're going to. Just because I want you to see that I care doesn't mean you're going to see that. I have to show that. I can't just stand up in front of the room and perform. I have to follow through. And he taught me that it also isn't obvious. I can be making connections and not realizing it. So my deep connection with DeMonte, I didn't realize it until we said goodbye. He definitely needed me to prove that I was genuine, and he needed me to show that to him in multiple ways. DeMonte came to me as a 7th grader, halfway through the year in 2013, and he was not doing well. He would sleep in class. He would be funny. He needed to be funny to his peers. I think that was his sense of belonging, to make others laugh. And he caused disruption and would sleep and not do work, and he failed. He failed math. But every day is a new day. When you walk into my room, it doesn't matter what happened yesterday. Just like hopefully if I had a bad day, you're gonna see my smile the next day. Every day is a new day, and I never gave up on him. I told him I wasn't going to give up on him. I didn't let him sleep. I asked him, how was your night? Are you okay? Can you put some effort in? You're still going to be responsible for this stuff. But ultimately, that first half a year, he didn't perform. But he came back the next year, and he did a better job. He was still funny. He was still disruptive and distracted. But it came to where we would end up in a space like this. And the lights would be out because I had really bad headaches. And he's like, can I just come in and sit? And he'd put desks together and he'd lay on the desk. And I'd be sitting at my desk working. I mean, I had like 6 preps, 5 preps, I don't know. I had a bunch of different classes. It was my first year back in the classroom after having kids and starting to raise them. And it was like Common Core curriculum, so we only had binders. Like a lot of work was going in, so I was always here. So he'd come by almost every day. Are you gonna be here? Are you gonna be here? But when he had after school detention, he had to go to that and he didn't want to be there. So I'm like, well, let me talk to Mr. So-and-so and see if you can come to my room. So then it came to where I would help him with his math, his science, his history. We'd sit on the floor and he'd tell me about a girl he liked or a friend, a ball game. I'd try and talk to him about life choices and plans and what you can do. And we just occupied space together. And maybe I was so naive. I wasn't brand new. I wasn't fresh out of college. I was a mother of like a 13-year-old and 11-year-old, and I had taught kids for a couple of years. But I didn't realize that I was making roots. And I was, and it was a beautiful thing. So it was so organic. It was so like, you know, not like I'm just here for the day. Like I was here for it, but I didn't realize he was here for it. Like I didn't think he was using me. But I do know that some people wonder if I'm taken advantage of because of the flexibility or the niceness or the 10 chances. But I didn't feel like he was taking advantage of me, but I didn't feel like he liked me in a way that you would like a mother or an aunt or a sister. I just felt like he's like, oh, this lady wants to help me. Great, let's get this done. So that was all fine and good. This is in his second year. I decided to play an April Fool's joke on my class, and he was in the room. It was one of his classes, and I told them that I was not going to come back after spring break because of a personal illness, health struggle that was not getting better. And they were familiar with the headaches, and they were familiar with the lights off and the ice packs, and sometimes Mrs. Jarrett has to leave halfway through the day. So they believed me. And I sat down on a desk and I got real serious, and I got glassy-eyed, and I told them that I wasn't coming back after spring break. And I thought it was going to be funny. I thought the kids would be like, oh yay, a sub, we don't like your math. And there were kids crying. And DeMonte got up and walked out. He went out to the lockers, and you could hear him, like not banging his head against the wall, nothing like that, but like at least one clunk. And he was just letting the wall hold him up or the lockers hold him up and hiding his face. So I don't know if he was crying, but he was like shaking his head no. So I went out and I soothed the students that were in the class. Like I told Destiny, it's okay, it's just a joke. It's April Fool's Day. And then I went out to DeMonte and I told him, and he was like, that's not funny. And so I realized in that moment that it was real for him. Like real, like she's not just some lady teaching me, she cares about me. He understood that I cared, and I understood in that moment that he cared too. And I don't expect students to care about me the way I care about them. I still don't. I want it to happen. I want it to be open for it to happen. But I didn't know it could happen until DeMonte. And so after that, it wasn't that like I tried harder, but I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like I'm doing a good thing here with this kid, and he's going to be better for it. So there's that, but then it turns out I was going to have to leave anyway because the North and South, they were so big and they were building onto North, so some of South's kids were going to go to North, and they were redistricting, so 130 kids were going to go, so they didn't need as many math teachers or other teachers as well at South because they were going to shrink. So I was going to go with the kids to North, so I really was going to leave. And on DeMonte and my last day of school together, it was very emotional when the bell rang. Kids just kind of hung back, his friends, and of course the phones were out and they were like getting ready to record. I have the recording, I have the pictures, but it was like the goodbye. I have seen him maybe once or twice since then, but it's, the connection is so real. The love I have for this kid. He wrote on a pen for me and put it in my desk, and I found it like later. DeMonte loves you. Don't forget about me. Don't cry. I love you and miss you. He signed this little apple, put a smiley face and a heart. No, just a heart. It's always on my desk. That poster over there says failure is not an option. He went to some what do you call that? Assembly, or I don't know if it's for military, but it says failure is not an option. And he brought it to me. He's like, you made me believe this, and you believed in me, so I want you to have this. So I try and be really careful with that poster so it doesn't tear. But the kids, his friends knew he was going to come give me a hug, but I didn't know him. He came and gave me a hug, and he didn't let go for like 10 minutes. He missed his bus. We had to get him home. And he just thanked me. And I didn't think that I had done anything remarkable. I just cared about him. The lesson that I learned from you is just from our history is that, how did I phrase it? Like, you can shine where you're not looking. It's not just about my classroom of students. It's about students in the hallway. It's about students at games, students that I may not teach math, but I could still have a connection with, have a bond with, create a history, start a history. And like I said, I feel like that's common sense. Like, of course I'm not just going to be, in a box and only give love or kindness, attention, education to those in my classroom. But you were one of those students that kind of came in with Hunter and joined our advisory group, even though he wasn't on my roster. You had Mrs. Johnson for math, so you didn't have me. But we would talk math, we would talk running. You were very fast. And of course, with it being the advisory class period, we got to chat about life. And you just became a part of the classroom, a part of my heart. Well, what made you want to come back into the room?
Your kindness definitely did something to my soul, to the point where it was really easy to form a connection with you overall. And I remember 8th grade, I was getting ready to go to high school, and we had that talk, and I was like, is there a way I can stay in contact with you? Because I had a deep bond with you at that point already, and we exchanged numbers, and then after that we still just stayed in contact, and it's been a blessing for sure overall. Having you a part of my life, yeah, it's refreshing every time to see you. Even now, it's really nice.
So first.
Okay, so I guess we're rolling for a while. Okay. All right, so this is Kimberly Bell, and I met Kimberly when she was a 7th grader. Actually, I met her when she was a 6th grader, but she became one of my students as a 7th grader in 2017 at North Middle School.
Right.
And she walked in and said, I'm supposed to be in honors.
Because my mom made me.
When I was on family leave, she and several students would come over every weekend to learn, because the subs, there were multiple subs. You've been in that situation before where you have multiple subs to cover a teacher, and it just, it wasn't working out.
Not necessarily ideal learning environment.
Yeah, definitely not a good learning environment. So I kept up with Kimmy that way, and through the years, we share something very important, a very special day.
Right?
Yeah.
We have the same birthday.
Same birthday, so July 29th. So for 8 years, I would say 6 or 7 of those, we have spent our birthday together. Mm-hmm. For sure. Sometimes it's like we have to be together at midnight so that we can do it, because then we have plans.
Exactly.
Kimmy has been with me through my daughter's health challenges, my Relay for Life events. I've been here to help tutor for Math Field Day, gone to transitional school with me to help work there. She was at my mother's funeral viewing, wake. She is very much a part of my family's life. Like there's no awkwardness. Like the last time she came over to visit, she was upstairs playing pool with my husband while I was downstairs baking cookies, and had a couple of other girls that were there, and then we played cards. Like we do adult things now. Which, when we want to hang out, well, Mrs. Jarrett, I'm in town. Can we get together? I'm like, I gotta go to the store. You want to go to the grocery store with me? Right? Get our nails done together. There's so much to say about this young lady, but I'm gonna
left a lot out. I'm gonna tell it from my perspective though, right? I'm gonna try my best to be as thorough. So basically, how I remember my first ever interaction with Miss Jarrett was when I was in the 6th grade. And there was one day, I think we had like some sort of event.
Books and balls.
And that was the after school event, but it was before that. We had something, I think some Relay for Life situation, you were speaking, right? And then that was my first interaction of you, because I was sitting next to my friend Brooklyn. You remember Brooklyn Alford?
Yes.
And then, because she had skipped a grade.
Yes.
And she was like, yeah, that's my teacher. She's cool, you're gonna love her. And I was like, I got it. I don't know, I guess so, whatever. Then I did go to an after school program with my cousin that was like Books and Balls or something. And my cousin, we had lots of fun together, so I don't know, I guess we were just a pretty rowdy, rambunctious. I guess I wasn't being myself, how I would display myself in the classroom or whatever. And she wasn't really messing with me at the time. Like she thought, quote, I was a punk. Let's not leave that out. Let's not leave that out. It's very important. Then it was 7th grade. They had some honors classes or whatever. My mom made it a point to get me into honors classes, rightfully so, because I definitely needed to be in there. And I ended up in Ms. Jarrett's classroom a little bit after the school year had started with my friends, with my best friends. Shelby and Emma were in there. They were definitely on this wall somewhere. Right. I actually just saw that when I was sitting there.
And Emma's over there, actually.
Yeah. So they were in their class, and I moved in there. I'm not gonna lie, to me, it was more so about being with my friends than it was the honors class. But it was worth it. It was worth it. And then I remember you telling me we had the same birthday. That's like, after I was in your class, the most first memorable thing that happened. And I was just like, this lady's weird. Like, like, why do you think? Because it was in the computer lab. Yeah. And I was like, why would you think I care? I actually don't care.
Hey, we have the same birthday.
Yeah, and you were like really excited too, and I was like, okay, like, congrats. But no, it's cool. Then I don't know what happened. I don't know. I just started liking Miss Jarrett all of a sudden. I
She did not like my positivity, my quotes, my sunshine spouting unicorn.
Not at all. I really was, which is really insane, because now that is like, that's so me coded. It's 100% something that she's done for me. Is like shown me optimism and gratuity, because I did used to hate it. I thought it was so corny. Not even hate it. I just thought it was corny and just cornball and just like trying too hard. But then later on, you realize that stuff actually matters. Definitely realized that it actually matters, and I definitely learned that from Miss Jarrett 100%. No doubt. So yeah, eventually I started, thought it was cute or whatever. Then she did have to leave because of her daughter. But we exchanged Instagrams before you left, and I DM'd you a lot. Didn't really leave you alone. Didn't really let you leave too severely, if that makes sense. But the fact that you responded and gave me the time of day is exactly why we still have a relationship today. So I feel like that, to me, when I think of how our friendship started, is what is most important. The fact that you continue to text, because I was going to text you regardless. But the fact that you gave me the time of day is why I think we're so close. Loyalty.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's my story. That's my origin story.
Yes, it's definitely. It was
cornball. It still is corny, but like it matters. It's important.
And she she'd say things like, "You're so normal. It's not normal." And I
don't think that anymore.
Really? Okay. So
the more I get to know you, I'm like,
it's very abnormal.
the more I get to it, it's like, basically, for like the first like 5 years, it was just like, wow, what an angel, like, just so amazingly perfect and like just not human in that aspect, if that makes sense. But over time, I was like, yeah, she's pretty ugly. Like, I guess she got more comfortable, and I started to see the human behind, right, which is not a bad thing.
Right.
It's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing.
It actually makes me feel better knowing that I know you more in that way now, if that makes sense.
Right, because it's not surface.
Exactly. That's what changed.
It's not like you think I'm just doing it because I think you need it.
Exactly.
Like, I'm here for it. I'm invested.
Exactly. It no longer felt like superficial.
Right. Like in the beginning, it was like, okay, if we're gonna get together, it was a little like, well, how am I supposed to behave? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna talk to a 7th and then 8th and then 9th grader about, like, when we go out for our birthday? Like, I wonder if she thinks I'm weird or annoying. Or, you know, just everything I say, like, we're so different, but we're connected.
Yeah, two completely different life stories. It's kind of weird how it merged in the middle there.
Yeah.
That is a good question. That is a really good question.
Because I don't even know.
I don't know. I was always kind of a math kind of girl, 100%, and I did get a little bit closer with all of my math teachers just because it was like an engaging topic to me, period. But I think it was Miss Jarrett's like willingness to engage back, if that makes sense. Like, teaching style wise, like, it felt more personal. Does this make sense? Like, it was, of course there's math, someone's teaching you math, but like, it just felt like she cared on an individual level, like with each student, which like in itself created a personal bond, to me at least, to me. And I always like, as I said, I always like math and my math teachers, but not every math teacher does that. So sometimes you're kind of like, or at least me, kind of look for that in a teacher, and like, you just can't, it's hard to find it outside of Miss Jarrett. It really is. Very unique, a very, very, very unique teacher. There's like something about you that like really no one else, I think it's just the willingness to care, like the willingness to like be personal with your students that no one else really has. It's something I value a lot. That's what I think it is.
When you like first met her, did you think you were gonna be this close with her?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I was thinking more so because we were like, not like friends for real the way we are now, but like in the 7th grade, to me at least, like the fact that I was hanging out outside of school with the teacher was like a little strange. Like, I had never done that before. My mom, like, she wasn't even tripping. She said, girl, go ahead, like, whatever. Like,
Well, and remember, I helped Rhonda. Like, I came.
yes.
So I met her family. She has an older sister who was on homebound, and they needed some help with. Rhonda needed help with math. So, and I don't know what year that was that I came. Like, was that pre-Carissa? Was that like in our first 3
I don't
months?
think so.
I think it was after.
Mhm.
So I was already on family leave at home taking care of my daughter. And like I said, like she said, when she left, she's like, I'm going to need your Instagram. And I said, okay. And I did. We definitely responded and we kept it up. We have been in contact every single day since mid-January of 2017. And whether Instagram, Snapchat, or text. Or
Our streak is nearing 3,000 something.
It is.
It hasn't hit that yet, but it's
it would
getting up
have.
there. She lost all of our streaks. Like, we lost the streak, like, no, I feel like it was at least 3 times. We
I
lost
think
the
you
streak.
bought it back. Did you buy it back?
Yeah. One time, but we're up there. We're getting up there. It's my only streak on Snapchat.
It should be big. It should be more. And that's totally my bad. That I haven't made that mistake in several years.
That's okay.
Yeah. But, yeah, so I came to the house, I met her mom, I met her grandmother, and worked with Rhonda in the kitchen several times, matrices,
Right.
matrix operations, and so then, yeah, it was cool. If Ruth let me have.
Yeah.
Let me have.
It's pretty surprising because my mom is she definitely doesn't play about me, but the fact that she was so willing to let me, she's go ahead, like, I don't know, I guess.
I earned her trust. I mean, I remember I went out and I was like, your daughter scored like a 923 on IXL. Do you know how big this is? Like in 7th grade, a 900 composite average in 7th grade, right? Okay.
Like the STAR test, you guys will take the STAR test?
Was
that what it was?
It was IXL.
Oh.
But it was like the STAR. It's or it could have been the star, but it was like the XL. But still, to get a 900 at that level was huge. And I went out and I'm like, she's like, I know. I told you she should have.
Right. She said, don't play about it.
It's like, she should have been an honors, and they're not telling me that she's not going to be an honors. And I'm like, you're right, your daughter's amazing. She's amazing. I'm going to push her. Please do it. Don't let her get away with anything. Love her. So I established a relationship with the parents. So of course, there's trust, and we were always with my kids or my husband. And then, as the frequency increased, or the amount of times increased that we got together, felt normal to go off by ourselves, because it went from student, teacher to friends.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like she ever looked at me as a mother, because she has a wonderful mother. Like, she has a mother. She has that in her life. But I'm something else.
100% a very unique, particular kind of mentors. I've experienced plenty of mentors, but there's a mother that I do have who loves me very much, but I don't speak to my mom the way that I speak to you or with any of my other mentors, because it's like, I can tell you things that I wouldn't tell my mother because you're not my mother, and what are you going to do about it, right? Like, you're not my mom. So it's like, it's almost a little bit more personal, if that makes sense. Like, of course, I have a lovely relationship with my mom, and she knows me more than anyone, right? But I can tell you almost everything, and then know that there won't be any room for judgment or any sort of just in the scenario that there's something going on where I just actually can't talk to my mom about this, because I just can't. It's just you, and there's no one else that I can go to for that. Of course, it's very unique.
All right, so this is the second story of a Musselman High School student. This young lady, her name is Jessie Sigler. I had her freshman year, sophomore, and then she came to see me every day junior and senior year. So 2017 to 2020, she is currently at Shepherd College, Shepherd University. She's doing her senior stuff now. I think she's graduating. Yeah, because it's 2025. So she's graduating this year with a graphic design degree, and she's come a long way.
Well, when I first came in, I was definitely rambunctious. I was definitely a rambunctious ninth grader. I was mouthy. I was a goofball. Definitely willing to push the limits of authority.
That's a very good way to express that.
So when we first came in, I was kind of doing the same thing with Miss Jarrett that I'd done for a lot of my teachers I had. And I was a student that didn't have very good relationships with any teacher I had met before. I had one or two, that was close to me. But coming into, this place, I was like, oh, well, this math class is going to be like every other class I've had before. It's just going to be another teacher that's going to tell me things and give me bad grades. But turns out it was a lot different than what I was expecting. Our 7th period class was definitely crazy. We were insane.
And large in number.
Yeah, there was a lot of us, and I'm pretty sure half the class was a bunch of class clowns. Mm-hmm. So it made it very difficult for Miss Jarrett. And I remember, I think we had you had kind of told me to calm down a little bit, which is something you should have done, because I needed to calm down. And I didn't like it very much because I was in my anti-authority phase. And so we kind of didn't hit it off on the right track to begin with, because Miss Jarrett was telling me what to do, and I was like, you can't tell me what to do. I'm a 9th grader now. No way.
I have full. No, we both wanted to win.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to yell at you. I wasn't going to embarrass you, but I wasn't going to let you not work.
Yeah.
So, and that was not the right choice. And I didn't know it at the time.
So I remember distinctly, me and Miss Jarrett had we had gotten into it a couple of times, not anything crazy, but I acted in some ways that I wasn't really happy with. And I remember going home, and Nana, she asked me how my day was and stuff, and I'm like, and I tell her, because our class, like our whole entire class was quite disrespectful to
Yeah,
Miss
it was
Jarrett.
definitely not just us.
Yeah, our whole class was quite disrespectful to you. And I remember looking at Nana and I'm like, man, you know, Miss Jarrett is actually like a really nice person. Like, you know, because even then, like even though we were kind of walking all over you, it was really mean. We were being like really rude, and I didn't like that at all. And I decided, like I remember distinctly telling Nana, I was like, you know, everybody's really mean to her, and now I feel bad for being mean to her because she's actually really nice. And Nana was like, well, then why don't you act differently? You know, why don't you stop being mean to her? And I was like, wait, yeah. And she was like, maybe if you stop being mean to her, the rest of the class will stop being mean to her because you're obviously one of the loudest.
And the leader.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
She seemed angry. I just wanted her to, this is your job. You come to school, this is your job. Do your work. You know, you're my client. I'm going to help you with this material, but this is your job. So let's be a student. And there were some days where Jessie couldn't student, and I learned that. And I learned to look for cues and listen and not push her. I'm not the type of teacher that if a student has their head down or refuses to do work that I just let them be. I go ask them if they're okay, and if they're okay, if they're not like incredibly tired from a rough night or feeling ill or having a really bad headache, then I expect them to work. In the last 10 years, there have been several students that have really shaped the way I want to be.